No, you are. Hey guys, D Smooth here, back at it with another video. Today, I want to talk about anime power scaling, specifically anime, and the many problems with it. And I can sum it up in one word: interpretation. Anime and manga is not like Western superheroes. See, superheroes in the West, we usually rely on urban fantasies, which is where everything is set in a mostly realistic world, just with a few fantasy elements here or there. Shows like Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man, Superman, most Western superheroes are in the urban fantasy genre. And this makes scaling very easy. Whenever the writer wants to show how strong a character is, they use an in real life comparison. Take, for example, Spider Man stopping the train in the second Spider Man film and the second Sam Raimi one. What makes that feat so good is that it makes sense in real life. You can get out a calculator and just measure exactly how strong Spider Man is in that scene. Now, in anime, and manga, you don't get many scenes like this. Anime power scaling, anime is often set in alternate realities or parallel worlds that are vastly different from us, which makes scaling so much more difficult. Take, for example, Ichigo and Bleach. Bleach is probably one of the worst of this. Ichigo, when they were fighting in the Soul Society, they're the fight between they have multiple fights in the Soul Society in that state. Oh, they could blow up the Soul Society. I have no idea how big the Soul Society is. Like, tell me now, how big is the Soul Society? You don't know. Nobody knows. They never tell us. I mean, if you could interpret it to be the size of a planet or the size of a universe, it falls so heavy on interpretation. They did the same thing with Ichigo versus Okiura in Hueco Mundo. Oh, they might destroy all of Hueco Mundo. How big is Hueco Mundo? I have no freaking idea. I have no idea if it's the size of Texas, if it's the size of a planet, size of a universe. I have absolutely no idea how big Hueco Mundo is. I can't measure that. I can't scale that. Like, go and look at in one of the Spider-Man film, Amazing Spider-Man, when he stopped that car, it was flying, and Spider-Man just caught that car. Again, that's something I can measure. And again, we see this even in Western cartoons. Like, remember Avengers: Earth Mightiest Heroes? We see Thor and Hulk fighting, and they're tearing up that city. We see these massive earthquakes, and buildings flying and stuff. I can measure that. That's stuff that I can measure. And anime in recent years, they have been doing this, but anime for the longest time, it's always set in some alternate reality. They're doing things that we can't measure. Statements aren't clear. Statements are not clear. We can't really measure it. And this is the problem with many anime. This is why scaling anime characters is way harder than it is to scale Western superhero characters. Because Western superheroes stick to real life comparisons. It's very heavily urban fantasy genre. Or even if it's not an urban fantasy, it's alternate reality that leans on urban fantasy. The anime goes way too crazy with the alternate universe stuff. Makes the scaling more difficult. And here's the thing: anime always has these weird power systems. Like, you got chakra in Naruto, you got spiritual pressure in Bleach, you got all these crazy. You got ki in Dragon Ball. You got all these crazy power systems. You got hockey in One Piece. All these crazy wild power systems. In Western comics, there really isn't a power system. There's just powers. It's not a system of powers. They're just powers. And maybe they all have something in common, like the X-Men. They all got that mutant. But at the end of the day, it's just everybody has their own individual powers. Like the X-Men doesn't have a power system. They have power rankings, like Omega level, but they're not power systems. And so when you implement all these complex power systems into the anime, it makes scaling the characters even harder. Jujutsu Kaisen has cursed energy and stuff. Well, if you have more cursed energy than another, then you're stronger and faster. Well, not necessarily. And it just makes the scaling more difficult. And like again, going back to Western comics to Western superheroes and stuff, there is no power system. There's just powers. They they like that like when you look at characters like Superman, he gets his power from the sun. He can fly around at light speeds, move around planets, and do stuff like that. There's it just depends on how much sun energy he has at the time. If there's no distractions, if you don't give him any kryptonite, there's really is no system. It's just powers. It makes everything easier. They don't have a power system. They just have powers. Now there's some Western heroes like I think Spawn. Everything depends on demonic energy and heavenly energy. And even then, even though they do have a somewhat of a power system, it really just falls on the individual powers and stuff like that. Like, Bleach does an okay job at this, Naruto does an okay job at this. See, the problem with anime is that it relies too much on the interpretation of everything. Everything falls on interpretation, which makes scaling the characters so much harder. Instead of just saying they're this strong or they're this strong, it's just, well, it depends on how you interpret their strength. I don't. It makes everything harder when you do that. You know how we know that Superman is fast in light because he does it. We can see it. We can literally see him fly to other planets in the comics. We can see that. You know how we know that the Hulk is planet level because we see him destroy planets and we see him fight planet busters all the time. We we see all these things and they make it definitive. Superheroes are very definitive with their power system, with their power levels. They're very definitive. There's not much room for interpretation. They are just super definitive about the power. Look at a show like Naruto. They don't really start blowing up mountains until near the end of the series. Like, how do you know how strong this character is? Well, I don't know. It depends. Because we see how he's able to beat all those guys, but these guys don't really have any explosive combat feats. They don't really have any flashy feats. Like, there's another thing. Western superheroes have plenty of flashy feats. You see all kinds of flashy feats. We see Spider-Man using flashy feats. Like, Western superheroes have way more flashy feats than combat feats. While anime has more combat feats than flashy feats. And that's that's one of the concrete differences between anime and and superheroes. Anime is more flashy focused. Comic books are more. Anime is more combat focused, and superheroes are more flashy focused. I know it seemed like it'd be the other way around because anime is known for its aesthetic, but that's one of the key differences. This is the problem with scaling anime characters because they rely way too much on interpretation. Well, superheroes and stuff, they're more definitive. This is what the character can do. They're just super definitive about their abilities, super definitive. Anime is all open for interpretation, alternate reality, things don't exactly work right. Like it's their definition of strong is very loose. Well, anyway, that's all I gotta say. Tell me what you guys think below. Like, subscribe.